Hey everybody, hey YouTubers, this is Sophia Nelson, your Black Girl Redefined, helping Black women to transform our lives to be happier, healthier, wholer human beings. And I have a topic for you today that kind of piggybacks on what I talked about last week about this notion of the number one thing Black women need to stop doing for Black men as our sons, as our nephews, and even as our brothers. And that is coddling and enabling behavior that doesn't help them. It doesn't. You know, it's good to love your son. It's good to love your brother. It's good to love your nephew or your husband, father, uncles, whatever. Yes, we want to love our families. We want to love those that we care about. But what we've been doing as Black women, some of it not our fault, from the time of slavery up till now, is we've gotten into this pattern, this very dysfunctional pattern of our men being emasculated, our men being protected by us, when in reality, we're not supposed to be the protectors, sisters. They are. We're not supposed to be the primary providers. They are. We're not supposed to be the leaders. They are. We are supposed to be the helpmates. And before you guys get all upset, listen to what I'm saying, because this is important. And I want to talk about Black Woman Redefined. If you haven't gotten your copy, this book is now 6 years old. The hardcover you can't even get anymore. But I really want every woman that's following me here on YouTube to get a copy. Download it on an ebook. Buy a copy. Give it to every Black woman and girl in your life, because it will bless them. It is a book about us, written 6 years ago with original research, and research with Black men's voices, how they really feel about Black women, what they think the issues are, what we think the issues are. The book won a Best Nonfiction Award. It was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. It's a good book, and I don't need to sell more books. It isn't about that. What this is about is helping us to have the tools as African American women that help us to be our best. Listen, it is not easy being Black in America, period, male or female. I wish we could all agree on that. And I think we also need to start agreeing that this isn't a competition of who gets screwed more, or who gets mistreated more in the workplace, who's beat up on more. I think we both have it pretty difficult. And I think that it doesn't help when we get on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter and on blogs or whatever and just blast each other and attack each other. And brothers, the evidence is out there. The evidence. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Crystalline's word for it. Don't take anybody else's word for it. Just look at the facts. You know, someone commented on my Bill Cosby video that I did yesterday and said that it's all made up. It's a setup. It's proven that these women, 50 of them, have set up Bill Cosby and lied on him. Guys, you got to get out of that thinking. It's destructive. It's dysfunctional. It's not true. 50 women are not lying on a man who has admitted under oath that he was drugging women for sex and that he didn't think anybody was going to find out about it. That was in a deposition that was sealed that unfortunately got unsealed. So the notion that Bill Cosby's been set up, or that Black women are trying to take him out, or white women are trying to take him out, or the man is trying to take him out, it's just not a true, factual, statement, period. So listen to me. Here's what I want to talk about today. This is a provocative topic. I know there'll be a lot of commentary, and that's a good thing. But I want to ask the question, are we raising a generation of Black girls and young women to be men? And are we raising a generation of Black boys and young men to be women? I want that to really sink in for a moment. I want that to just marinate. I was talking to a good friend of mine a few months back, Dondre Whitfield. You all know him from Queen Sugar and from The Cosby Show. Amazing man. And he has this thing called Man Power. I think it's called Manpower. And his whole notion is trying to educate Black men and help Black men to find their masculinity and to understand there's a difference between a man and what he calls males. Now, for you brothers out here who like to attack the sisters and get angry at us, you need to really go look at what Dondre Whitfield and his partners, Hassani Pettiford, and some of the other brothers have been doing for years around trying to help the brothers reestablish their proper role in being a man versus a male who's not responsible, who fathers children out of wedlock, who mistreats his woman, who's competing with his woman, all those things. These are men who are married and married successfully to powerful, amazing, beautiful, ultra feminine, pretty women. So you can't sit there and bash and call names and do what many of you do. They're calling you to account. And that's a good thing, because I really do believe this dialogue about us versus them and them versus us really has to engage the voices of black men who are leading. Black men who step up, as many brothers here on YouTube have, who have seen the disgusting videos and comments and tirades and attacks on black women and said this isn't right, and they've done videos. My favorite, again, is that African brother, and I wish I knew his name, I don't, who broke it down to black men and saying, you know, in America, the only people that like black men are black women. The only people that stand by black men are black women. And black men, in turn, as many of you said in the comments to my last post, and you're dead on, have talked about how we are not appreciated for what we sacrifice. We are not appreciated for what we give up. We are not appreciated for how long we stand by our men. We lift them up. We pick them up. Look, I've been there. I've loved a few brothers in my day who, they weren't bad men. They were good men. But they had been spoiled by their mothers. They had been spoiled by the women in their lives. They had a lot of potential, but they couldn't get out of their own way. And here comes me, like many of you other sisters out there, picking them up, helping them how to dress the right way, teaching them how to do their resume the right way, loving them, building them, staying on the phone, marathon phone calls, encouraging him, reminding him that he's a champion, reminding him that he's a great man and he can be something, and then he forgets my birthday or doesn't feel that he needs to reciprocate anything. That's the kind of stuff that sister after sister after sister after sister, mothers, daughters, nieces, aunts have been through from time immemorial, pouring into, building into, being that helper and getting crapped on in return, getting passed over. And when they become successful, not only do you not get a thank you, but they go and they get some either docile, fragile creature who looks like a runway model, or who can't help them when they get in trouble or be what God calls a woman to be in Proverbs 31, or they do the opposite thing and they go and get a person out of the race, and they do it because they believe that that white woman, that Latina woman, that Asian woman, whatever, is superior to the black woman, the very black woman who fed them, nurtured them, cared for them, and helped them. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today, because I really do want to dig back into this notion of black female masculinity is the term, and black male femininity, because we're seeing a lot of gender confusion. And I'm not talking about transgender people here at all. That is not on the table today. What I'm talking about is the roles that black women are playing in our culture and the roles that our brothers are playing, and what it's doing to the next generation of black men and young women. And this is important, folks, because we already know we have a 70% out of wedlock birth rate. The closest numbers to that you see are with the white race, because they're the majority race, and there's probably maybe in the 20 to 30th percentile for white babies born out of wedlock. And so when you begin to look at the staggering numbers of black women who are single heads of household, who are not only caring for multiple children by perhaps multiple men who don't pay child support, aren't a part of their kids' lives, then these same women are working one, maybe two jobs to help their elderly parents. Then they're helping cousin Ray and them out. I can't tell you how many times I've been called personally, or my mom, or members of my family, where we've had to chip in money because cousins that we don't even know didn't even have burial insurance. Black folks, get your wills done. Get your insurance done. Get a policy. You can get a policy for as low as $10 a month to bury you when you die. And so for some of you men on here who are on disability, unemployed, you're angry, you're pissed off, you're estranged from your families, you're on here doing all kind of things, you need to start thinking about the end game, because all of us are going to die. That's real. And you need to be thinking about who's going to love you, and who's going to care for you, and who's going to be there for you. And sisters, it's the same with us. And I think that, again, we have been so pitted against each other. We have been so damaged from hundreds of years of systemic and systematic racism and environmental racism and corporate racism and church sexism and all the different isms that affect us as black people, that we have turned on each other like vicious animals. And it's tragic, and it needs to stop, because I'm not your enemy, black man, and you should not be my enemy either. But back on point, black female masculinity. Look, I've talked to enough men, and I wrote about it in this book. Don't take my word for it. Look at what Roland Martin says. Look at what Mark Lamont Hill says. Look at what Michael Eric Dyson says. Look at some of the brothers and what they had to say. The truth is, the good news is, black men love black women. That was the ultimate finding in this book. Black men, regardless of what you think about statistics, 90% of black men who are married in the United States are married to black women. About 10%, there was a good article in USA Today about swirling, and it wasn't swirling, but it was talking about interracial marriage and how it's risen over the last, June 12th is Loving versus Virginia 50th anniversary. And that is the anniversary of the landmark Supreme Court case where a white man and a black woman could get married, Virginia, here in Caroline County. And I'm going to be writing about that. I talk about them in my new book, E Pluribus One. And if you haven't gotten a copy of that book yet, particularly given the hearings and everything you're seeing with Russia and everything that's going on, you need to get a copy of E Pluribus One. Everywhere books are sold, they'll drop it right to your house on Amazon, Barnes, Books A Million. Great price point, hardcover. They're going to keep it in hardcover for a while. Get a copy. But back on point, I want to talk about this black female masculinity, because in the book, Black Woman Redefined, the research shows that the reality is, and I've said this many times before if you've listened to me, there's not a woman that walks amongst us that doesn't want to be loved, cared for, protected, and respected and honored. There's not a woman, I don't care if she's CEO of Deloitte, I don't care if she's CEO of Verizon, I don't care if she's a doctor, a brain surgeon, a lawyer, a journalist, or whatever. There's not a woman out there, if she's honest, that doesn't want love. And there's not a man out there, if he's honest, that doesn't want to be respected, that doesn't want to be loved and cherished by his family, and to have his woman be proud of him. Let's just accept the basic premise that all of us, at the end of the day, want the same thing. All of us want love. All of us want respect, and all of us want to be a part of a family, of a unit, of people that nurture us, encourage us, inspire us, check us when we're wrong, that engage with us, that are connected to us. But here's the problem, and this is where I think the dialogue has to begin. If there's going to be healing, at least civility between the black male YouTubers who have done, again, the most vile things. And folks, on that front, I'm hoping for an announcement soon. I've been working with the legal teams, been working with some prominent black women's organizations, the sororities, etc., through my network, to really put together an amazing strategy to really deal with this once and for all, because it is just wrong that the videos, I just reported a couple the other day that I saw, and I asked YouTube, why are these up? Why do you have videos up with this type of vile, perverse, disgusting language and blatant open attacks on African American women? What are you doing? And ladies, we have to hold YouTube to account, because YouTube is the source and the platform. And when these videos are reported, when they're sent in, you have to stay vigilant, because depending, I guess, on who's viewing them, some people might find something offensive, some might not. But when the F word's used, when the B word's used, when death threats are issued and all this hate is spewed, that's a no-brainer. That is not free speech. That is hate speech. We've talked about this before. 18 USC stands. I know some of you don't like it. You don't want to deal with the law. Too bad. The law is the law. Cyber stalking is a crime. Cyber harassing is a crime. There are whole units in the federal, the state, and local governments that combat this daily. Daily. So please, remember you have rights, ladies. And gentlemen, that goes for you too. I have blocked and reported women on my video feeds that are saying vile things, that are cussing, that are using language I don't even want to think about, and saying to abort and kill black male babies. I don't support that. I don't endorse that. That's wrong. And it's not right. And it's not something I'm going to tolerate. So please remember, be civil. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have a discussion. And we don't have to agree, but we can respect each other. So to this black female masculinity, let me say this to the men out there. I've seen your comments. I've read the books by Steve Harvey and all these other brothers who, by the way, many of them have had multiple divorces and remarriages, unfaithful, cheating, lying. So consider the source. That having been said, I do believe people can change, and I do believe even the worst people can often offer some valuable counsel. And so this black female masculinity that we found about in the book, meaning black women who skew hard, cold, independent, strong, etc. In the eyes of a man, ladies, what you have to understand is that men, right or wrong, particularly men over 45 years of age, I would say 40 years and up of age, they have mothers, and someone brought this up and I thought it was a good point, mothers who are of a different generation, women who were more docile, women who were more likely to be in the home. Even if they were single moms, they still had a certain way of doing business in the world. And it's difficult, and this is their issue, it's not ours. And I say this all the time, don't attack me and be angry at me because I educated myself. Don't be vile to me because I'm doing something good in the world and I have a platform and I make money and I have a home and I have nice cars and I have good things. I worked hard for those things. Anybody who works hard should have the rewards of working hard. But in the minds of many of these men, sisters, the reason they go out and they get these Barbie dolls, or they go out and they get these women who are a complete disaster and can't help them to be who they're supposed to be, because as I went back to scripture, he that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains the favor of the Lord. So you got to find something to obtain something, right? And then the notion of the Proverbs 31 woman, if you've read that, and many of you have, if you look at her qualities, this woman's in the marketplace. This woman is praying before her man wakes up. This woman is holding down her household. This woman is revered amongst her community. She's not sitting home being a bimbo. She's not sitting home in a corner not having an opinion or a point of view. She's out changing the world in a good way. So I want you all to understand that when we get back to the fundamental roots of the way it's supposed to be, we can understand that the reason black men and black women are so angry at each other and there's so much vileness and attacking and anger with each other is because the foundations of healthy relationships were destroyed when we came here to America. It all goes back to 1619 Jamestown, folks, when the first slaves were on these shores. And then you look at the slave trade, which flourished for hundreds of years here in America. When other countries had cut it off, America was still very vested in the slave trade. 8 of our first 10 U.S. presidents were slaveholders. That's why I took the position I did on the Confederate monuments. It makes no sense to me that we would be pissed off about Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson, but love Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, James Monroe, and James Madison. That makes no sense. They were slaveholders too. We revere them. We have schools named after them. We have universities named after them. So you can't pick and choose evil. Evil's evil, and slavery was evil. So I want you all to understand that this notion of black female masculinity goes way back to slavery, because black women did not have a choice. They were going to get raped. They were going to work 15 hours a day. They might get sold. Their babies might get sold. They understood, though, as women, and this is the hard part to swallow, but this is real. Black women and women in general understand that sex is a bargaining tool. It is. Sex is a bartering tool. And so if you knew you were going to get raped, a lot of the mothers would tell their daughters who were slaves, look, if you just go along to get along, he might get you a winter coat. You might not get sold off. If you curry favor with him, he might not sell your babies with him off. And so it became a process where black women understood that they were going to be violated. And so they had to be able to exact some kind of power to protect their families, to protect their children. And they did that. And most of all, to protect their sons, who they feared being lynched, mutilated, violated, because they were men, but they were emasculated men. They were slaves. They couldn't protect their wives and children. They couldn't protect their mothers and sisters. And that had to be horrible as a man, to see the woman you love and not be able to save her, or to have to trade your own life because you knew they were going to kill your wife or your daughter, rape them, sell them, do the most vile things. And I want us to have a consciousness about what really happened to us and why black women became so hard and strong and tough. They didn't have a choice. And so how dare any black man, how dare any black man attack a black woman for being what she didn't have a choice to be, to protect and love him? It's wrong. It dishonors your mother, your grandmother, your ancestors, and it needs to stop. And on the flip side, in doing that, and if you look at fast forward here, 21st century, we have produced a generation of young black men who are homosexual, they are effeminate, they are soft, they don't know how to make it on their own, they're still living in their mother's basement. Look at the comments on my video that I did about the number one thing black women need to stop, almost 10,000 views. Look at that video and look at the comment section where black women talk about their brothers still living at home with their parents, not able to get jobs, not taking care of business. I've dealt with it in my family. I made it clear in the family discussion a few weeks ago. I helped for the last time. I'm not going to continue to use my network, my dollars, and my time and my resources digging you out of your mess. I have my own drama to deal with. I have my own life to deal with. And brothers, I look at your comments and you don't accept responsibility for anything. You attack, you pass the buck. At some point, DeAndre and Hassani and those brothers, Devon Franklin, these men are calling you, because they model it, to be a man. If you want a woman to be submissive, if you want a woman to be in your corner, the brother that wrote me the letter that I read yesterday, which I appreciated. But if you want me to mentor you and help you and support you, what are you going to do for me? Are you going to love me? Are you going to protect me? Are you going to honor me? Are you going to treat me like the princess and the queen and the love of your life that I should be treated as? Are you going to abuse me, talk mean to me, be angry at me because you perceive me as doing better? You perceive that the world is kinder to me? That's got to stop. This isn't a competition. This has got to be a collaboration, folks. Black men and black women, rise up and stop the hating and the attacking of each other. It doesn't matter, sisters, whether they started it, whether they're doing whatever. We're raising our voices. We're creating organizations to combat this. We're talking to lawyers. We're looking at class action suits. We are doing what we need to do to defend and to honor ourselves, and that should not change. But we also have to understand that there has been systematic and systemic abuse of us and our men and our boys and our girls. And at some point, we've got to be the generation that says, wait a minute, hold up. We're not going to let our race be annihilated. We are behind in the wage gap. We're behind in the wealth gap. We're behind in the ownership gap. We are behind as a people in the marriage gap. We're behind in the ownership gap. We're behind in the healthy gap. We're behind in every indices there is, folks. And it all goes back to segregation and slavery in this country. You cannot have 400 years of systemic and systematic institutional abuse of a people and think that everything will be okay. I know that our Caucasian brothers and sisters like to believe that. I know they like to tell themselves, well, my family didn't own slaves, so what are you telling me for? Or I don't see color. That's bogus. That's crap. And we need to have a real discussion. USA Today, go on my Twitter feed at I am Sophia Nelson, has this powerful article today about the military and the racism in the United States Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines that is perpetuated against black troops. Folks, it's in corporate, it's in the church, it's in the military, It's in our colleges and universities. It's in our government. It's everywhere. It's pervasive. Black men and black women, the time has come to stop fighting each other and to collaborate to save the race, to save the future, to save our children from annihilation. If we keep going in this direction, black women are burnt out, they're tired, and damn yes, they're angry. I saw an amazing video called Why Black Women Are Angry. It's had something like, 8 million views. I put it on my Black Woman Redefined feed because I was so awestruck by it and the power of it. Because yes, there's a reason why we're pissed off. There's a reason why we're angry. There's a reason why we're hypertensive and diabetic and overweight and not taking care of ourselves. You know, I wrote about Jackie Robinson in my book, E Pluribus One is One of the American Heroes, and I had a chance to talk to the people who work at the Jackie Robinson Foundation and do some historical research. And of course, his widow, Rachel Robinson, is still alive, and she's talked about many times how racism gave Jackie a premature death. Hair turned white. You imagine every day being in the National Leagues and they calling you nigga and they're attacking you and they are threatening your life, menacing you, threatening your wife, your son. And by the way, when I just use the N-word, I am quoting what people said to Jackie Robinson YouTube and Google. So I'm not calling anybody that. I'm quoting what Branch Rickey and his team had to deal with when they went to play the Philadelphia Phillies. And the evil owner of the Philadelphia Phillies, it was a historic event, taunted Jackie literally while he was up to bat and was calling him the N-word every few seconds. It was horrible. And I don't know how Jackie Robinson didn't commence to beating him down, but thank God he didn't because the world was watching. We all deal with that kind of stress, even in the 21st century as black men and black women. And it's killing us. It's making us sick. And it's making us angry. And it's making us turn on each other. And I want to talk about this because to the black parents out there, let me end with this. I've got nieces, biracial nieces, so that's a whole nother topic for another day. But to you parents out there, you've got to raise your sons and daughters equally. You cannot raise your daughters and love your sons. You've got to stop coddling the boys and protecting the boys and leaving the girls to their own devices. Lesbianism on the rise. What did they teach me? Lugs and bugs. Lesbian until graduation. Bisexual until graduation. Our girls are now experimenting with things and doing things and turning to other women. Now look, again, I'm not talking about people that are homosexual or transgender. Take that off the table. I'm talking about the mental dysfunction, the social dysfunction, and the lack of girls having the proper daddy love, daddy relationships, nurturing that a girl needs from a man to pick a good man, not having that. I'm looking at the girls with the Timberlands on and the tattoos and the hair and the masculine features. They look like they could beat any dude down any day. And likewise, on the flip side, our men, tight pants, skinny pants, flitzing around, acting feminine, doing feminine things. The roles are reversed. I was having a conversation to end this with my girls this morning. We have our prayer, every morning. And one of my girlfriends in California, who's a mother of two, a girl and a boy, was talking about her and her brother. And she said to her mother at one point, Mom, you raised me to be a man and you raised my brother to be a woman. And of course, her mother was mortified by this. And she said, think about it. I'm a single mom raising my kids, holding down jobs. I got a home. I got a mortgage. I'm doing whatever. And my brother's always in trouble. He's not meeting his obligations. He's not taking care of his family. He's always whining, always needing money, always needing help. And we keep giving it to him. Sisters raising kids. A black woman can raise a good black man. It's been proven. But it's harder. And if you're going to do that, he's going to need mentors and surrogates and things because there are things that a woman simply can't teach a man. But to the men out there who have daughters, hear me. I need you to love, shower your daughters with pure, godly love. That every day of their life reminds them that they are precious in your sight and in his. That every day you know and you tell her, I will protect you. Daddy's here for you. Daddy will always be here for you until he has no more breath in his body. No matter if you and her mother get along, it doesn't matter. That girl needs your love. She needs your affirmation. She needs your support. She needs to hear the word. She needs to feel your arms around her. She needs to know what the boundaries are and what's not okay and how a man should treat a girl and a woman and how he shouldn't. To the women out there holding it down with 3 jobs, you trying to put food on the table, you trying to raise these kids up, you got to remember that your daughters are human beings too. Your daughters need affection. Your daughters need love. Your daughters need to hear well done. Your daughters need to hear mommy loves you. Mommy believes in you. And maybe you don't have a father, but you got a granddaddy and you got an uncle. And I'm going to make sure that they take you to the daddy-daughter dance. And mommy's going to be here for you. I love you and your brother the same. Hear me on this. This is how we begin to change all this viciousness and this anger and this hyperbole that I see here on these YouTube feeds. It's ugly. A lot of anger. Both sides. Sisters, we're just as guilty. They may have started it. They may have started a cottage industry of hating us and demeaning us. We'll deal with that the proper way. But I'm calling on you again, as I did in my very first video, and I'm calling on me, and I'm calling on you brothers out there. You got to stop this. We are being pitted against each other, and we're going to be annihilated if we keep this up. We can't sustain this kind of damage. We can't sustain it. Something has to change. And I believe that change begins with me and with you and with all of us. God bless you and keep you until we meet again. Bye-bye now.